Welcome to ParaMystic Kristina, where the paranormal and the mystical meet. Today we're going to be talking about the paranormal. What exactly is that? What do we mean by paranormal? The paranormal, by definition, is anything outside of what we consider our physical world. So anything beyond our five senses of smell, touch, taste, hearing, all of that. And seeing. So beyond that, everything is paranormal. So telepathy is paranormal, psychic ability is paranormal, all of those different things, the clairvoyance, which is clear seeing, and the clairaudience, which is clear hearing, the clairsentience, which is clear feeling, and that can be feeling either emotional feeling or feeling like something you can't see is touching you. All of those things fit into that. The claircognizant, when you just know something and you don't know how you know it. You don't have any idea where that thought came from. You just know it. And then the clairalience, which is smelling. When you smell phantom smells, where there's no reason for you to be smelling a cigar or perfume or whatever, that is definitely a clair for sure. And the clairgoustiance, which is more rare, but it's a taste in your mouth that you get. It's usually metallic, and you don't know why you're tasting that either, but that is generally considered a sign of paranormal communication. So these are just kind of the different ways that we can experience the paranormal, is through those clairs and through those non-physical senses that we are able to tune into those things. Empathy is another thing that it's an emotion, but it could be considered paranormal in that we can't really explain how it works, just that some people are empathic and some people are not, and that you can feel, if you're an empath, you can feel sometimes other people's pain. You pick up on other people's emotions. You pick up on different ways, like how the energy shifts in a room, that sort of thing, when people come or go from the room. That's also considered kind of a psychic ability or an intuitive ability. There are so many things in this world that we don't understand, and everything that we don't understand that is outside of the physical realm pretty much falls under the category of paranormal, right? So we're covering psychic abilities, we're covering different types of spirits, ghosts, demons, shadow people, the fae, the fairies, the gnomes, mermaids, nymphs, brownies, goblins, succubi, and incubi, covering the cryptids, like Bigfoot and the Mothman and those sorts of things. So we're going to be talking a little bit about those things throughout this episode as well, throughout this show. I would like to talk a little bit more actually about the psychic abilities and how they're used, because we already talked about what they are, the different ways that they appear, but how can they be used by someone who is able to tune into them? Mediumship. A medium is someone that you would go to talk to if you want to talk to someone who has passed away, who has moved into the world of spirit. A medium has the ability to contact the spirits who have left our physical world and who have moved on. People get readings from mediums for a lot of different reasons, but usually it's because they just missed them. They want to feel a connection. Maybe they're looking for some information. Maybe they're looking for clarity. Maybe they just feel like they need a sense of closure. All of those things can be brought through with a genuine medium who is able to reach the other side and talk to people. Trance channeling. Trance channeling is one of my favorites. I do trance channeling, and it's one of my favorite ways to use psychic ability. It is a little bit more difficult for people who have difficulty trusting, because when you do a trance channel, you are literally leaving your body so that another entity can come in and use your body. Now, of course, there has to be rules around this. There has to be some guidelines. I don't let just anyone jump into my body to give information. It has to be someone who can, first of all, deal with my spirit guides, because my spirit guides are always trusting me, always, always, always trusting me, always taking care of me, always making sure that I am okay, both physically and emotionally. Well, I guess physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. That's what my spirit guides do. They don't just guide me, but they make sure that in the work that I do, that I am well cared for and that I am always safe. So when I do trance channel, meaning going into a trance and allowing this other being to come through me, when I do that, I know that I'm safe. I know that I'm cared for. I know that everything is going to be fine. I am not necessarily present mentally when this is happening. I do pick up on the emotions of whoever's channeling through me. Some examples of those would be I channel Christ consciousness. I channel the collective of Bartholomew, which is a collective of light beings that has come through and shared messages. I channel the Pleiadians, specifically 2 Pleiadians from the High Council of Pleiades. I have channeled the I Am, which is light. It's just like a beam of light that moves through me and shares information with whomever it is that I'm talking to, whichever audience I'm sitting in front of. They come through and they share information. All of these beings that channel through me generally have a message to share, but then they also will take messages from whoever else is in the room. So when the Pleiadian High Council comes through, for instance, they are very much about helping us get through the transition that we're going through on Earth right now, from the 3rd dimension to the 5th dimension, helping people make those shifts, because we all know the energy is shifting very quickly, timeline issues, all kinds of fun stuff going on, right? So they are here to help us transition through that. And they have been here, I don't even know how long, a millennia more, maybe. And they help us. They help us to understand the energy shifts as we're going through them, and also understanding that it isn't just our planet it's going through shifts. It's not even just our solar system. Its entire universes are going through shifts and growing and expanding, because anything that doesn't grow dies. And so if we're not expanding, then we're just going backwards, and that is not helpful for anyone. So they are here to guide us through that. When I channel Bartholomew, for instance, they answer more personal questions. They will help you sometimes find someone on the other side who you've been looking for and not been able to reach. They will answer more local questions. They will answer questions on how to deal with, on a personal level, the changes that you're going through, whereas the Pleiadian High Council is more concerned with the collective moving through this ascension that we're going through. They are more concerned about the collective and the earth, how all of that is happening. So different energies that channel through me. The Christ consciousness is very soothing. That comes through. It feels like a male energy. Maybe it's just because I'm used to thinking of Christ as a male. But when that comes through, you can just feel the peace settle over the room. And it's very clear to me that that is 100 plus percent pure divine love. There is nothing in this world that feels like that. It is amazing. Like the peace that passes all understanding, somewhere in the Bible, I guess that's in there. I'm not a biblical historian or anything, but I do remember that phrase. And when that Christ consciousness energy comes through, there is such a peace and such a wisdom that just settles over the room. And whether that room is like a Zoom room online or whether that's a physical space, it doesn't matter. It just comes through. It is such a beautiful experience. that I can't believe I ever resisted channeling after channeling Christ consciousness. Uh, Moving on to astral travel. And that's where we have the ability to experience places off the planet, where we can just go off into like the universe and connect with consciousness there, with the universal consciousness on a personal level. And that happens usually during a meditation. Sometimes it happens while we're asleep, but usually it happens during a meditation where we just are able to go out and experience the universal expansion. Basically, some people use this opportunity to speak with their spirit guides. Some people use this opportunity to meet other beings from other places, to have connections that way. We can use this for so many different ways that we can use psychic and intuitive abilities, which are paranormal abilities, because they're not part of the physical world again. So moving on to manifesting. We can use our psychic abilities for manifesting. Now, that can be manifesting material goods, money, health, relationships, pretty much anything. But because we have that energy and that ability, which all boils down to energy, and I will get to that maybe in another episode, but this all boils down to energy and how we use the energy. So using our intuitive abilities to manifest is really just focusing on what we want instead of what we don't want. It's really that simple. There are entire courses, there are entire all kinds of YouTube channels on it. There are all kinds of books on manifesting, but what it really comes down to is shifting our energy to focus on what we want. And that is really a paranormal ability, as evidenced by the fact that a lot of people don't know how to do it, in my opinion. We can find lost people or animals using psychic and intuitive ability by simply focusing on the energy of that person or that animal, to find where they are, to be able to determine whether they are still in the physical world or whether they have moved on to the other side, to the spirit world, to pure energy. But that's another way that we can use our abilities. And I believe that everyone has the ability to tune into that type of energy, and not just to find lost people or animals or keys or whatever the case might be, but to be able to tune into that intuition and to use it in a way that is productive and helpful for people, including ourselves. People often use their psychic ability in helping solve crimes, to help solve murders or missing persons, that sort of thing. People can use those abilities once you learn how to focus that energy to be able to do that. The thing is learning how to focus the energy and understanding that it is a skill that you can learn to tap into. Many people don't realize that, and they'll just say, well, I don't know, it just came to me. Well, there's claircognizance again. But you can learn how to tune into claircognizance so that it shows up when you want to use it. You can learn to tune into all of those different clairs in order to use psychic and intuitive ability in a way that benefits people. That we have medical intuitives. I know several excellent medical intuitives who are able to pinpoint maybe where your doctor has not been able to figure out why you're having this symptom or why you're having these things, because they haven't run the proper tests, or they don't know which tests to run based on your symptoms. I can't tell you the number of people in the last even 10 years that have been struggling with health issues, not understanding why they're having health issues, not understanding what those issues are in particular. But they can go to a medical intuitive, and the medical intuitive can say, well, I see this in this particular part of your body, and maybe this is where your doctor needs to pinpoint the testing for that. The thing about medical intuitives, and I live in the Midwest United States, so I know that in the state that I live in, that it is against the law to diagnose if you don't have a medical degree. I'm assuming that's the case in most places, but a medical intuitive can say, well, it looks like it's in this part of your body. You may want to have your doctor check that sort of a thing. But we can't make a medical diagnosis unless the medical intuitive is licensed as a medical practitioner. Just throwing that out there. Another thing that we often, I'm going to continue to something else. Sorry, healing for yourself and others. And energy healing is another form of what we would consider paranormal, even though prior to modern medicine, that was normal medical care. Reiki masters, energy healers of all sorts, hypnosis practitioners, all of those can help people to heal themselves by drawing in, asking the universe or spirit guides or God or whatever it is that you believe in to bring through energy to precipitate healing. I have seen miraculous healings over the years, and some of those healings come through ETs. Some of those healings come from the person themselves simply believing in it. Some of those healings are just miraculous and nobody knows where the healing came from. And sometimes what it does is it gives modern medical professionals a pinpoint to where they can focus and find these things. It is becoming a little bit more common in some parts of the world where medical professionals are like, okay, we didn't think to look at that. Let's check that out. And in other parts, they will completely ignore you and blow you off if you say you've got this information through a medical intuitive or through a psychic. I've seen both happen, and it's really nice when we can all play together in the sandbox. Hopefully that is becoming more common as time is going on. But the healing aspect of it, of using psychic ability to heal or intuition to heal, and most of that is faith. That's why faith healing works, because you believe it works. Energy is malleable. Any kind of energy is malleable until we turn it into something solid, like the wooden desk or something on that order. Everything is composed of energy. That's the basic premise of how the universe works. So as we are going through all of that, and we are paying attention to how is this energy handling, how is this energy working, and you can see that even just in a basic, very, very basic way. If you go into work and when you walk in, the person that you work with the closest or your boss is in a bad mood, you pick up on that bad mood. That's an energy transfer. We can use energy transfer in both directions. We can use energy transfer to make people feel better as well as to make them feel worse. And so if we are paying attention to the energy around us and how we're working with energy, we are working in the paranormal realm because it isn't the physical realm like we're used to thinking about it. By location, I don't know if anyone has ever checked in on this. Bilocation is an empowering tool. It's not the easiest tool to learn because you really have to be able to believe that you can be in two places at once. And it's fun. I know that I have bilocated, and I have bilocated with groups of people where we have been able to go to different places on Earth so that we could verify where we've been with the rest of the group. It's an amazing tool too, to be able to check in on, let's say you want to check in on your pets at home and you don't have a security system. If you can bilocate, you can move your consciousness to your home and observe exactly what your pets are doing. A caution with all of this, though, is to stay within the realm of respect and not using it to spy on people. Not using psychic abilities to hurt people, but rather to help people or just to gather information for yourself. That's one of the things that I teach because there's a lot of ethical considerations when we're talking about paranormal abilities. There are significant ethical considerations when we're talking about paranormal abilities, and especially psychic and intuitive abilities. We want to make sure that when we are using energy, we are using it in a way that isn't causing harm. There's so many different realms that we can go into with the paranormal. And right now, the realm I'm going to jump into a little bit is UFOs, UAPs, extraterrestrials. This is a huge topic right now. It's been a hot topic for a while. And, a few years ago, I'm not even sure when exactly, but a few years ago, when different governments were releasing information that they have on UFOs, UAPs, ETs, they were releasing documents that were pretty heavily redacted. So if you're watching any of the documentaries, the UFO shows like on YouTube or those sorts of things where they're talking about that, there's a lot of redaction in those governmental records, and that's with all of the governments worldwide pretty much. There's a lot that they're still not allowing us to visually see, although many of us have had experiences with ETs. I've talked to several people over the years who have been abducted, or believe that they've been abducted, but don't have any actual proof that that's happened, but they just know that it's happened. Being able to see some of the crafts in the skies and coming out of waters, coming out of caves. There's so much that we don't know that discounting anything at this point almost seems ridiculous. Um, but people are going to believe what resonates with them. And really, that's what I encourage everyone to do. Focus on what resonates with you, but be open to expanding your understanding of what could be. And that's where the paranormal comes in. It's the what could be. It is the unknown and the what could be, or maybe the partially known, but we're learning more about it. Um, I absolutely love the idea that we can communicate with those who do not live on our planet. Like I said, I channeled the Pleiadian High Council, or at least a couple members of the Pleiadian High Council. And when they come through me, I very much feel it. My body changes to where I'm taller, to where my voice changes. My pattern of speech changes, even though they're using my vocal cords and they're using my dictionary basically in my head as they're talking to people. I can feel the difference then. And then when I come back, I still feel different. It takes some time for that energy to kind of level out. But every time that I come back, it's at a little bit higher level than when I left. And for that, I am very grateful. I am very grateful for them to come through like that. With the ETs and the alien bases on Earth, and how that may or may not interact with some of the cryptids, like Bigfoot. There's a strong theory that Bigfoot is interdimensional, or an ET, or a subterranean species. But basically, most people who have had any type of telepathic connection with them, any type of telepathic connection with the Bigfoot community, they will tell you that they are more advanced than we are. And I agree with that, being someone who can telepathically communicate with them, and also have channeled some of the Bigfoot community. So it is interesting to me that we are able to connect consciously to other energies, where we are able to connect consciously to each other. I'm sure that most people will say that, if there's someone who's very close in their life, say a family member, a child, a parent, a sibling, and let's say you have two adult siblings and they don't live anywhere near each other, but they're very connected emotionally. If something happens to one, the other one feels it, knows it, something. They know something is up. So they reach out and connect. And almost every single time, almost every time, there will be a reason that they felt that. That sibling is having some sort of an unpleasant experience, or maybe an elated experience, a really happy thing, but the other sibling felt it. This is even more common in twins. as far as research has shown. There's no logical reason for it, right? It's all telepathic. It's all, I don't know what tele-emotional would be called, but there's that too, where it's like a tele-empathy as opposed to a telepathic, where you don't necessarily know that what they're thinking, but you can feel what they're feeling. I have that with friends, and it doesn't matter. I have it with my family too in some cases, but also with some friends. And it doesn't matter how far apart we are. It doesn't matter what part of the world we're in. We pick up on each other's feelings. So if something really big happens, some of those people are going to know. That's an amazing way where this telepathy and teleempathy, I'm going to call it. I don't even know if that's a word, but I just made it up. So there are those ways that we can communicate that don't have anything to do with the physical world. They're more the etheric world or the paranormal world. We can use our abilities to communicate with ETs in trance channels, or the CE5 meditations that people are doing, or the CE5 protocols where people are going outside and they are focusing on sending out a signal that ETs can connect with to come and visit, and seeing the crafts show up in the sky, being able to have telepathic communications through the CE5 protocols. I've done this myself, and it is an amazing experience. If you ever have the inclination to do that, it works better when you have a group of people, because you have the combined energies, which is stronger, and everyone focusing in one direction. But it's still an amazing thing, even if you do it with yourself, even by yourself, just being quiet and sending out that invitation, basically, through your mind and through your energy, to draw them in, to be able to have that kind of connection and that kind of interaction. I think it's a beautiful thing. It also works with some cryptids. There are some cryptids I probably would not want to call to myself. And I think most of you would agree with that. But the cryptids are an incredible, I don't know really what to call that category other than cryptid, but incredible beings that are in contact with us in some way, shape, or form. The thing is that if we don't have a direct line of communication with them, we tend to assume what their communications mean. So if we don't have a direct line of contact, say with Mothman, and the Mothman shows up and then the bridge collapses, that's a pretty common story that we hear. I don't remember which bridge it is, but some people believe that the Mothman showing up made that happen, and other people believe that the Mothman showing up was a harbinger of information, like something bad is going to happen. We're giving you a heads up. Here's a warning. Take it or leave it. So it really depends on your point of view in that case. Like, which way would you interpret that communication? Ghosts and spirits. Let's talk about that. Typically, a ghost is the spirit of someone who has left their body but has not left Earth. They are, for some reason, not leaving Earth, either by choice, by not understanding that they can leave Earth, or by just choosing to stay here and not moving on to any other realm. They're just here in energy form. Sometimes that happens when people pass away quickly and unexpectedly. They may not realize that they've actually left their body right away. As a medium, I have spoken with several like that, and then it's my job to help them understand that they no longer have a physical body and that they need to make a choice about what they're going to do. And very often, once they accept that, which happens remarkably quickly in most cases, once they have accepted that they no longer have a physical body, then they are willing to move on to going home, going to the light, going with family members, whatever the case might be. but it brings a sense of peace to them, and it brings a sense of peace to those who are still here in physical form. Um, Spirits are typically those who have passed away. They've left their physical bodies, but they have moved on to another realm. They have gone to wherever it is that they're going to go. I believe that there are probably several different, as many different options as there are people, quite frankly, but that they have moved on and that they are able to do their life review, to be able to look back and say, this is what I did, this is what I wanted to do, where could I have done better? We all have the opportunity to do that, is what I'm told. So that when we leave our bodies, we have the opportunity to move on and to look back at our lives and decide what it is that we wanted to do, and did we accomplish that, and do we want to come back and try again? So there are, we want to put rules on it, but quite frankly, I have not seen where the universe has any rules about any of it. It's pretty much just explore. It's pretty much just experience. What is it that you want to experience, and how do you want to experience it? So as we're moving through with that thought process, spirits go, they take care of their business, they come and go as they like. They're not trapped here. Um, they can come and visit, they can come and help out, they can guide other people, they can do a lot of different things. So that to me is the difference between a ghost and a spirit. A ghost is stuck here, a spirit comes and goes at will. And moving on to shadow people. This is something that has been really interesting to me lately, because I never really recognized that I was seeing shadow people. Um, the quick glimpse out of the corner of your eye, or something like that. And shadow people they may or may not have ever been people. They may have or may not have ever been human. And a lot of people see that as a dark thing. They see the shadow as a dark thing. I don't. I have seen several shadow people throughout my life, and none of them have scared me. I haven't felt any kind of fear from them. I do kind of feel like it's more curiosity on their part. Like, they're usually peeking out from a door frame, or, running through a room real quickly, seeing what they can see. And for me, it feels like they're more curious about us, maybe even than we are about them. It feels like a curiosity. It feels almost playful in many cases. I have not ever had a negative experience with a shadow person, where I have had a negative experience with a ghost. So I think that that's the difference. I could see that ghost very clearly. I could feel that angry energy coming at me, very directly angry energy coming at me. I've never had that with a shadow. I've never had that with a shadow person, a shadow animal, just a black kind of blob thing. I've never really gotten any kind of negative energy. I mean, usually it's neutral energy. It's not even negative or positive. It's just neutral energy. And I'll get to it in a moment, but that kind of crosses into, is that a spirit? Is that someone that we're seeing in a different time frame or a different dimension? So, I'll get to that in a minute, but I'm going to finish my little list here first. Demons. I believe that demons exist. I don't believe that demons are as prominent as paranormal TV would like us to believe. I have run into maybe 2 demons in the decades that I have been doing this work. And it seems to me that whatever we believe is what we are going to put onto whatever that energy is. So we have a lot of control over what we experience. Do they exist? Yes, I have heard of people and seen people being interacted with in a negative way, with what they would consider demons, or even what I have considered demons at some point. I don't think that that's as prevalent as we probably think that it is. It does exist. I mean, look around, but there are, I just feel like we can't label everything a demon just because we don't understand what it is. And I feel like that happens a lot. I feel like there is a pretty large chunk of even paranormal investigators who will label something a demon because they don't understand what they're interacting with. Sometimes we can just pick up angry energies, but that energy might not be angry with us. It's just angry for whatever its reason is. And that's where being a psychic medium is really helpful, because very often I can make a connection with them and have a conversation with them, a telepathic, teleempathic energy conversation with them to understand what it is that they are experiencing. And I have been able to help many of them find peace and move on to wherever it is that they needed to go next. I think that there is so much misinformation or misunderstanding when we are dealing with the emotions that come along with the paranormal world. It's very complex, and it has taken me, like I said, decades to understand what that complexity is about. And I don't even understand it all the time. I don't think I've ever met anyone who actually does understand all of it, because again, there's so much that we don't know. Moving into another category, the Fae. This is kind of a fun one, because it really kind of goes into the category of almost make-believe. So when we're talking about the Fae, which is the fairies, the gnomes, the mermaids, nymphs, brownies, goblins, succubi, incubi, all of that really goes into what we have kind of Disney-fied. I don't know if that's a word, but when we think about fairies, what do we think about? Tinkerbell. Fairies are not necessarily like that. I have talked with several people who have had interactions with fairies. I've had a few myself, and really the fairies are just in some ways like humans. You have your good, your bad, and your ugly, right? So there's that whole spectrum of what we can consider fairies, and the way that you experience them very much has to do with the energy that you draw to yourself. Same with the gnomes. I have had conversations, telepathic or teleempathic conversations with gnomes, and they're kind of a grumpy lot for the most part, and at least in my experience. So then what am I projecting that's drawing in grumpy gnomes, right? So maybe there's happy gnomes, and I just haven't had contact with them. So it's really, we have so much control over the way that we experience the paranormal. It's incredible. Mermaids. I have not had contact with mermaids, but I have a friend who claims to be a mermaid and who embraces her mermaid energy, I guess. Like every time I see this woman, she's looking for water to get into. And I think it's just adorable. But mermaids, sirens, are they the same thing? The sirens that call to sailors and crash ships and those sorts of things. I don't know if that's the same thing, but I do believe that mermaids do fall into that category of the paranormal. And wood nymphs, the little people we see, and little, I mean, like, maybe a foot tall, 12 inches, whatever that is, in forests, running from tree to tree, and working with the forest energies. I feel like a lot of this category, the Fae, deals with our natural world in a way that we don't, for the most part. They don't see it as resources. They see it as home. They see it as, this is a living being and we are part of it. And that has been my experience with all of the fairies, the gnomes, the nymphs, the brownies, the goblins. They're all they're all part of the natural world, and they understand it at a level that we don't. And I think the reason that we don't see a lot of them, or that we don't have contact with a lot of them, is because we are in a different vibration of understanding what nature is. They are very much right there. They live it. They breathe it every day. We do too. We just don't think of it that way. We tend to see nature as having resources that support our existence, they see it a little bit differently. Now, the succubi and the incubi, uh, those are really interesting. They tend to feed off of sexual energy of humans. And it's kind of a crazy thing to me. Like, how does that actually work? But they do. That's the thing. And I'm going to do more research on that because I don't really know much about it. I feel like they just know how to latch on to people and to draw their energy from them. So they get energy from us. That's the only way that I know really how to explain that. And again, I'm going to do more research on that. Um, we have so many opportunities to connect with the paranormal. We have so many opportunities to understand the paranormal. And many of us have, just probably because of, the society that we've come up in, if we don't live in a society that supports that type of communication, then we are seen as weird. We're seen as crazy. Put whatever adjective you want to put in there. But to be able to connect with the paranormal is magical. It's pure magic. And it all boils down to energy. Magic is energy in motion. It's energy with intention. And the paranormal understands that. The paranormal world very much understands that. As we are looking at all of these different things, let's go into the crypto extraterrestrials, if you want to call that. I don't even know how to say that. Again, with Bigfoot is very often considered to be interdimensional or extraterrestrial. I have seen plenty of documentaries that put UFOs and Bigfoot in the same area. I have had communication with both without the other one being there, and I have had communication with both where they're both there. And I think that, if we can just look at how many species in the physical world, how many species are on planet Earth, we can't possibly think that there's only one kind of extraterrestrial, right? There's has to be so many different species that we don't even understand, that we will probably never have contact with. And individually, I don't think anyone on this planet is going to have contact individually with every possible species that's living in the physical earth or on the physical earth. We can't possibly think that we're going to understand or have contact with every extraterrestrial species out there. And unless they have, through direct communication or through telepathy, indicated what their species is, we're just giving them names, because that's what we do. We label things. It's how we understand our world, is through labels. We label everything so that we can understand it, and so that we can put a memory maybe to it, so that when we say the same thing again, this is what a fairy is. So the next time we hear the word fairy, that's the image that we get, right? Whatever we defined it as to begin with. There is so much mystery and so much undiscovered truth that we have no idea about. And I, for one, am very much looking forward to understanding more truth for as long as I'm here and beyond. I hope that as I'm understanding or gaining information about different paranormal entities, different paranormal abilities, and I'm sure that there are many that I haven't even mentioned today, I really hope that I can understand or at least accept the differences. And quite honestly, humans have trouble even accepting the differences with other humans. So wish us luck, right? Thanks, universe. I am grateful to have this format to be able to discuss these things with you. And I look forward to speaking with you again. Until then, you are listening to ParaMystic Kristina on Zone 5 Radio.